Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Can you hear me at the back, John? Good. So, coming to the last period of our designated retreat, with its features and frames, reference frames and structures. Shift perhaps from engaged, interactive into something more solitary or internalized. Activity doesn't cease, it just shifts. We know everything is movement. All conditions are movement. That continues. So, in this concluding period, is to present some topics for reflection, so you can find your own way of encapsulating, harvesting, storing, clearing. So your own middle way continues through this continuum of conditionality, which is always moving, shifting, changing, requiring responses. Some responses may be just to step back and let it pass. Some responses may be to move forward gently. Some responses may be to seek counsel. Some responses may be just to take a firm stand. So responses are part of what we do, a crucial part of what we do in terms of this faring on. And as I've just suggested, these are just some ways of talking about responses. There's a number of them, aren't there? We can't just rely upon one. We can't just step back and let it all pass. Nor do you want to engage with everything. Gear shifts are required. And this is even in a fairly structured and standardized experience, such as monasticism, there's lots of random variables that weren't on the agenda, that weren't on the timetable. So you can't exactly get a system that's going to cover it all, because something random, unsystematic will pop up, flood in through the door. Externally and internally, of course. We may have a particular meditation system, that's fine, but then suddenly overwhelming moods rise, doubts, stagnation, lethargy, anxiety, uncertainty, restlessness, drive. It wasn't in the technique, wasn't on the agenda. And so one can say, well, what is the right technique? Let me know. I'll have it too. But does it mean techniques are useless? No. Practices aren't useless, but we're learning to use deliberate intentionality to establish and craft and smooth a keel. You know what a keel is? Underneath every boat you have a long plate extending down into the ocean, and that acts as something that gives it stability. It stays with the boat. People like to walk around on the boat, they admire the superstructure, they like the ocean, but nobody really admires the keel. The keel is probably one of the most important pieces, because without that the boat tips over, unless it's extremely calm. So every boat has to have a very good keel on it. And it's strong, it's shaped, it's rightly placed. So when we seek stillness, most of us will probably think of an anchor, which, that's useful too. That's it, all stop, hold on. But, we're not in a harbour, we're out on the ocean. Once we were born, we were launched. There is no harbour. We take refuge, not in a harbour, but in the teachings and the example and the practice that keeps us afloat. With this slight floating potentiality, maybe this, maybe that, slow down, need to shift a little. There's that floating potentials, they're always available. So in this way, it's a greater learning program than just still, because it requires the maturation of all the activities, their root essence of our activities, because our activities are based primarily on virtue, even more primarily based upon right view. We're not an independent entity. Our concerns don't end at the edge of our skin. They radiate around us. We are given to, we are infused with air, food, water, care of others. We wouldn't have been born without them. We're not an independent entity. We're in a continuum that spreads out in ever rippling and widening circles. That's where and so whatever you vibrate with, that's going to send more ripples along, which could be beneficial, it could be turbulent, but we want to live in awareness, cause and effect, what we're affecting, where we're coming from, what causes we pick up, what we affect in every action, speech, inclination of the mind. Internally, what we ponder and consider sets up the ripples internally. Our obsessions, our joys, our goodwill, our self-criticism, those kind of get things going in there. And what do we want to sustain internally, externally? It's right view. So in terms of instruction and teaching, you might say almost the only teaching is right view, is to purify. It's not quite true. But what we're doing, in teaching anyway, is just bringing to light that which is already here, evident, self-presenting if we were clear, looked clearly, felt clearly. took the time to witness beginnings and endings, where things pass away, the results. So the teaching is an illumination of what's here. We don't really, it's not going anywhere. We're not, the ocean is endless in terms of conditions. The illumination is also endless, but it doesn't travel. It's got no current in it, no push in it. But the illumination helps us to know how to float, moderate, learn. So we might say the first way we present this is in terms of ethical practices, which are a big part of how we live. And the balance of those, we can say, when we look at ethics, perhaps most people would say it's all about don't do this, don't do that. No, that's half of it. You have, of course, varita, which means things you refrain from, and charita, things which you definitely do. You could say duties, so duties is a rather kind of dog-eared word, but, aspirations, things we really bring forth as part of our cause and effect, entering into cause and effect clearly with luminosity, rather than just blindly holding on to rules, system structures. We're not just becoming robotic. Things we refrain from doing, or make an effort to draw back from. Harming, hoarding, consuming, over-consuming, sexual dilly-dallying for no, just toying, fiddling around with oneself or others. Harmful speech, lying, but lying's only a part of it. It's just the careless throwing out of mental content into other people, willy-nilly, heedlessly. Just, social media, absolutely flagrant, totally irresponsible, because there's nobody there. Because when you look at something on the social media, the person's not standing there, they don't even know who they're talking to. It's just a set of noise shooting out into whatever consciousness picks it up. Nobody's responsible. There's no way of communicating. And yet this is called communication. Actually, nobody's present in it. So we certainly refrain from social media. But even the kind of attitudes that I think begin to become more prevalent in society because of the influence of social media, people don't really care whether they're telling the truth or not. That's a secondary concern. The most important thing is to, get your stuff out there. And who's listening don't care. So when we respect other creatures as fellow subjects, not as objects of my wishes and wills, but as fellow subjects, and we extend that, radiate that, then we're beginning to get a sense of what we refrain from, even thinking, even caricaturing, even stereotyping, even judging. And we sustain the qualities of goodwill and responsibility. This is a practice. We cultivate this internally, externally, the way we think. Because thinking affects how you speak, and speaking affects how you think. What you read, and that goes to reading, what you read affects what you think. The way you think affects what you read, what you want to choose to read. And one can get really into a vortex with that, trapped by media. Thinking the world is what the media presents. Reality is what the media presents. No, that's media presentation. It's something. But then, when we make this movement towards balance and that floating in the ocean, you don't stick on things. You don't make a fixed statement about the world. You're not expecting a fixed world, or a final world, or a happy world, or projecting a totally miserable world. There's forces present. And we just take our responsibilities not to crystallize and firm up, which has already become obsessive, contagious, and trapped in its own spirals. So it really is quite a practice to maintain faith, lightness, openness in the face of such obsessive currents that we come into contact with, and how they're eating people up. Mental health plummeting because of this stuff. So the things you refrain from doing, and things you put effort into, healing, befriending, caring, steadying. This is all part of how we conduct ourselves, or we aspire to conduct ourselves. Charita, that which you do. And in monastic life you have all these kind of set duties, also the lodgings, the teacher, the meditation hall, the animal dinners. Yeah, these are all the set pieces. And they give us a good sense of, this is something we give attention to. But of course, life eventually can't be structured. You've got to pick up the theme and then stay with the theme in terms of how you meet the world. Keeping it clean, void of harmful, obsessive or stuck attitudes. So we're practicing with this. And how does this fit into meditation? Meditation is the internalizing. Because in the internal realm, the energy that you're also part of, or is part of you, or is a big feature of being alive, is energetic, is actually contained more fully, more completely, so it builds up. It's not spreading out, or it's limited. They're containing it. And the containing it has two qualities to it. Both it's innately strengthening, but also it's revealing. Because as we contain energy, which is characteristically in our lives, has been involved with speaking, acting, making things work, getting things done, having a pleasant time, meeting people, arranging this, arranging that. All that energy that's involved with that is now actually just contained. And it causes the structure of the person to shift. It's like we begin to recognize more clearly when we sit still, we're actually not a single entity at all, but a weave, rather like an internal ocean of currents, depths, ripples, waves, tsunamis, rocks, and all kinds. We're kind of a constant shifting formations of what they're called, rather bland word, sankhara. They're impulsive, they are moving, they're shifting. And so that sense of being a simple solid entity, once you start to sit still and meditate, that view shifts. You're not a single entity. You're not a separate entity. You're not a single entity. Whereas with virtue, we recognize we're not an entity separate from everyone else or everything else. With meditation, you realize you're not even an entity. You're an occasion. An occasion where qualities are coming to light, qualities are disappearing, merging, shifting. And that's a very powerful shift, because once we've come out of that sense of being an entity with a future and a past and a history and things they do and things they don't do and they're this and that, definable entity, the releasing from that, it kind of lets all unresolved material comes to light. Unresolved material is a bland word. Anxiety, uncertainty, restlessness, craving, wanting things, irritation, and various moods which we didn't really have words for, just the feeling of being in something we can't quite manage because it's not in the box of the unified entity. It's just neither this nor that. It's kind of amorphous, trying to find a balance with it. Sometimes we go dull and sleepy. Sometimes you get hyper and very active. And this is what comes to revealed when we sit, meditate, whatever that is, standing, walking. And the fundamental quality of it is we turn intentionality, we draw it. We draw that outgoing movement. We don't necessarily curtail it completely, but we substantially withdraw it. And we put a limit on what we do. And suddenly all the energy is drawn back, and it begins to open the fibres of what seemed to be a unified being, a simple person. And that's psychologically, as we all know, pretty challenging, since one's views and attitudes were based upon that premise. Everybody said you were somebody. Whether you liked you or not, you were definitely a something. And now that, there's a lot of things saying they're me, feeling like they're me, acting like they're me, but who's the me? What is it? Maybe they're just actions, movements, perceptions, memories, attitudes, impulses, reflexes. And what's the moderation of that? How do we float in that? Maybe we try to find the right one, the right thing to be, or perhaps just gradually get used to embracing a wider range of these potentials, to know them, to cast light upon them, and see what that does. And what brings things to light is mindfulness, contained within body, contained within the embodied experience, put it that way, which can be movement, breathing, physical sensations. And as we stay with that, it becomes more apparent that even this most definite thing we call a body is not a definite thing at all. It becomes fields of energies and shifts, solidities, heats, fluidities, movements, vibrations, tingles, pulses. Suddenly this entity called a body, when we cast light upon it, changes or reveals itself, because we're not trying to make it anything. It doesn't go anywhere necessarily, it just reveals itself. And then we see, well, in all this, one of the key features in all of this, as with any boat, it's not where you go, or how big you are, or the colour of the hull, or how many people are sitting on board. It's the keel. Otherwise, it's over. And that keel is not a sensation, it's not a thought, it's not a mood, it's not pleasant or unpleasant, it's not aiming for anything, it's not an intention, it's a and you kind of go, well, it's where the pushing and pulling don't go. It's where the movement forward and the movement back doesn't go. And there is that. There is that. As it is said, there is an unconditioned, unborn, uncreated, unoriginated. Without this, there'll be no release. There'll be no way of getting out of the vortex, staying steady in the flood, keeping afloat. There'd be no way out without this. What is this? Well, we say, because it's not a thing you can place, it's the place where the feeling, the moods, the memories, the intentions, skillful, unskillful sensations, where they're felt, they're known, and they're not caught, they're not held on to. In a way, although comes with the light. When you illuminate the full conditionality, then something else revealed is the unconditioned. The practice then is handling conditionality. It's not an easy thing. It takes effort, but none of the effort itself is not single. It's not forward or backward or full speed ahead or go slowly. It's multi-geared. Perhaps the most useful feature of it is persistent. It's a steady, deliberative. We're living a deliberate life. Not ponderously deliberate, but examined. And you stay with that, casting light on it. And you notice where it gets blurred, compulsive, obsessive, stuck, dogged, bowed down. This isn't it. heavy. No, it's open, it's free. And this freedom is a feature that we might be able to name. So handling conditionality towards, so that the light extends into this unborn freedom, is one way of encapsulating the whole plethora of exhortations, encouragements, injunctions that encompass the middle way. And if we get overwhelmed with the details, we come back to the simplicity. Just stay balanced. Just hold the balance between internal and external. Don't go internal, don't go external. Acknowledge internal, the mood shifts, the interests, the resistances, the urgencies, the anxieties. Acknowledge that. Don't just go into a whirlpool in that. Acknowledge the external. Sight, sounds, creatures, people, events. Don't go into that. Acknowledge that. And when we have that acknowledgement, just the meeting place, if it's held clearly, the meeting place dispels the clinging. So you keep your attention on the point of contact. Something rushes up into your mind. What's the contact? You find yourself, oh no, what's going on here? What's this? Oh wow, that's great. I could do this. Just contact. Cast the light on contact. Got a great idea? Yeah, okay. How's that contact? Before the further action. If there's no wavering, no delight, no aversion, no struggling, no proliferation, around that, contact empties. And you find that empty place, quiet place, even because the reverberations still. Externally we see things we delight in, concerned about, worried about, feel very important, urgent, feel really, really upset by it. Absolutely. Don't concern yourself too much with the reactions, but just where they land. Cast light on that, where they land. And there's the place where the clinging, the getting captured, getting stuck, unbinds. It unbinds. And the unbinding is called nibbana. So nibbana is not exactly a state, although it's often described poetically: the island, the refuge, the lantern, the light, the beyond. But it really means where stuff that was binding, tangling, proliferating, the not doing of that, the undoing of that. And where we find that, where we aspire towards balance, we know we have that. It's not something we don't have. When you stand up, you have balance, otherwise you fall over. You don't have to make it, but you do have to remember it. Heart also has a balance, so it's often lost. That balance is acknowledgement of light. You turn the light on the place of contact. And there's a place there where stuff doesn't go. And once we cast the light on that, it definitely helps to moderate how we act, because our action becomes dispassionate. Just react because life is about action, but we're not expecting and we're not pressurized. We act because life is action. We're in it. The water, we're in the ocean. But there isn't the pressuring, the pushing, the anxiety, the how good am I, when will they ever, that stops, and the suffering stops. It's just for this the Buddha teaches. Yet from this point, the encompassing of the world of cause and effect can be realized. So this is just a reflection. You're all familiar with the themes of Four Foundations of Mindfulness, breathing, walking, standing. So I won't necessarily repeat what should be familiar, but hope to encourage you to turn the light on.